Hey, everybody. Austin Cheviron here with the Winning Twice podcast. Winning twice is winning in life and business. And one of my mentors one time, Dr. Joe Currier, taught me, why would you sacrifice your life for your business? And so that philosophy, as we're growing our companies, as we're becoming the best entrepreneur, really stuck with me. And I just put it in my business. I put it in my life and said, how do I make sure I'm winning twice and not one at the detriment of the other? And talking about winning twice, I think I got one of the best guys to talk about it today. This guy's been in my life for a little while. Mr. Dave McGhee, how you doing,
Austin,
bud?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I love it. I love it. So Dave, help our listeners here. Let's give them a quick little background on your story. So as we keep talking to them, they got an idea where you're coming from and the advice and mentorship that you're going to give them
Sure.
there.
I mean, we can go way back, but it's probably overkill. For the past 20 years, I've been coaching business owners and leading a large coaching company. We coached over 4,500 business owners. We had more than 80 coaches. And then recently started my own private practice coaching small businesses.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. So when we were talking on Monday, I'm like, God, if we could just rip this open and let people hear what me and you talk about, and then they get to see, it's like, how are they thinking and what are they doing?
Yeah.
Because as you heard, Dave just ripped the Band-Aid off and he said, okay, I'm flying my plane on my own now.
Yeah.
And how's that been?
It's been great. So you and I met at the company that I, helped lead the coaching division, and great organization, great people. And when I left, that was a hard thing to do. I hated to leave the clients. I hated to leave the people that I worked with, and I hated to leave the company. But it was time, 19 years there. And the bigger we got, the more I felt like I was in bureaucracy instead of making an impact on people's lives. And so now I get to make an impact on people's lives every day. But I also get to feel the other side of, being a coach, because I've made every mistake that I tried to help my clients not make when I made the transition.
So you're an entrepreneur now. You talk about making mistakes. Every entrepreneur is going to make, all of them.
Yep, all of them. And then some.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, you'd be lucky if you didn't make them all. So, okay. Over the last, was it 12 months ago? What was the timeline?
Yeah.
It
was June 1st of last year. So it's almost one full year.
What's been the biggest lesson now switching from W-2 to 10-9? Is that right?
Yeah.
No, that's okay. What's been the biggest? Yeah, I said it wrong, but we're on the same page.
Totally.
What's been like the one thing that you've learned?
I think, it's funny because when I'm working with business owners, I always say one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're starting a business is not living enough runway. It's going to take longer than you think to get traction. And even though I knew that going in, like, that was the hardest mindset piece to overcome, to not wake up every day feeling behind and know that it's going to take time, and you just got to keep working the principles. And then, I did what everybody does. I chased how can I get the quick lead? And it took me about 4 months to realize, boy, had I not been doing that for 4 months, I'd be further along, and to get back and focus on fundamentals,
I hesitate to say this because it sounds wrong when I say it, but I remember one thing you said, like clear as day, hit me like a nail in the head, Dave. It's a quote you had, but I can't remember the exact words of the quote. But you said something like, people underestimate the times things take. Do you remember that?
I wish I could take credit for the quote. I think it was actually Bill Gates. Yeah. And he said that people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 10, I think is the quote.
But there was a second, you said people underestimate the time that things take. And because of that, they're like always living in a stressful state. They're not getting enough done. And I can't remember the exact words. I always was good at having a couple drinks every time we were hanging out together.
Me too. I bet it was great, Austin, but neither of us know what happened.
Well, for whatever it's worth, I still tell my clients that. I'm like, my guy, Dave McGhee said something, and I can't remember all the words, but I remember how it made me feel, which was this: we try to do too
Yeah.
much. And because we do too much, my favorite quote, Mary Beth Eisenhower sent me a little card with this, and Mary Beth, with this little pink slip in it. And I don't know why she sent it to me, but it had this little thing. It was like a little 2x2 post-it note. And it said these words. It says, only undertake what you can do in an excellent fashion, for there are no prizes for an average performance. And that little thing stuck up on my board for 2 years, and I stared at it, Dave, and I'm like, damn it, right there. What am I doing in an average performance? It says only undertake what you can do in an excellent fashion.
It's brilliant wisdom. And I think
And
I do remember the quote now. It's like I'm a firm believer that there are no unrealistic goals, but there are unrealistic timelines. And so you can combine that Mary Beth's quote with that principle and have big goals, man. I think like right now, I'm trying to tell people, have 7-figure aspirations. Even if you don't really care to build a 7-figure business, have 7-figure aspirations. But you take the big swing, but you got to take the small steps. And if you're taking the small steps, you can do it in an excellent manner.
Yeah, it's funny, like this podcast, I put it out to my team. They're like, hey, what are we going to do for our marketing this year? And I am the unmarketing guy. Like, I hate to market. We've talked about this. It's not my thing. You're like, you need to change your word, Austin. I'm like, okay, I hear you. And so when we put together the list, podcast was one of the pieces to get the message out there to the masses. Because me to you, Dave, like, I didn't want to do anything I didn't want to do to get a message out there. If I didn't want to do it, then fuck, I don't want to do it. But when it's like, hey, do you want to spend 45 minutes hanging out with Dave? I'm like, sure, but I don't want to run all the stuff. And then Apex reached out to me, Podcast Co., and they're like, hey, could we help manage it for you? And I'm like, well, that makes it a hell yes. And I think I could do it in an excellent fashion if I had help.
Absolutely.
And so that phrase, Dave, I keep with me all the time. Only undertake what you can do in an excellent fashion. And the problem is, well, how do you know what you're doing in an average performance?
Ooh,
how do you know?
That's a great question. How do you know?
Well, I'll put a little factor. How do you know when you're the type of person that operates up here with your standards and not down here? Because my average performance is better, and it's better than most people's average performance.
I think that's right. And I think that probably plays into leaning into what you're good at, right? I think what we're naturally good at, we often dismiss because it comes easy to us. And then, so we try to do things we think we should do. And we typically do at an average or subpar level. So one is to trust what you're good at and lean into that. And then I think the other is the things that you're not good at, find somebody who's good at them to do them, right? Like either delegate, delete, or automate the things you're not good at. So, and if you do that, then you're going to stay in your sweet spot, and your standards should raise because you'll get better at what you're already great at.
Okay. So you've worked and coached with hundreds of people. So the basic question then is, okay, I hear you, Dave, but how do I know what I'm truly good at?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One, you and I both have had the benefit of having a real strengths psychographic assessment. And I think any type of psychographic assessment, whether it's real strengths or Enneagram or DISC or Strengths Finders, will give you some basis to name what you already know. And so I think there's value in putting a name on, hey, I'm good at this, and this is something that often is not my strength. The other way you know is if you enjoy it and it comes easy to you, it's probably something you're good at. And we often dismiss that. You go back to your disdain for marketing. You market more than you know, but you don't do it in the traditional way that everyone says you should do it, because you don't like that. And so it doesn't feel genuine to you. But I don't know anybody who's more connected than you, and your connections lead to other connections, lead to other connections. We're on this podcast because we had a conversation, right? And that conversation led to, hey, would you like to come on my podcast? Which is great for me, right? So, yeah.
That's great for me. I get to hang out and talk with you.
Yeah. But so you market in a way that you're good at marketing. It's just not, it's not what
Yeah.
traditional marketing is. And I think that's, so
Okay.
to you, it feels like, oh, I'm not marketing, but you are, and you're doing it at a high level.
Okay.
I mean, you're booked up.
I think I think the listener can understand that. So now let's put that back into reality, because what they should be hearing is, okay, Austin says he doesn't like to market, but I see him all over the place and he doesn't call that marketing. It's because I just like to do it and I do the things I want to do. And if I don't want to do it, then I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So let's go back. You said the first 4 months, your transition, your first 4 months, it sounds like you might have been doing things you didn't like to do.
I think some that I didn't like to do, and some that I really love to do, but I shouldn't have been doing. Right. Like, it was one of the, like, I was cranking out Instagram posts and LinkedIn posts like crazy. And I actually enjoyed doing it. I liked writing them. I liked the thinking of it. Is it what I'm great at? Probably not. I enjoyed it. But it wasn't what I should have been doing. And I think it kind of took me away. What I should have been doing is connecting with people, which I'm also very good at, and it comes naturally to me. But it didn't seem like that's what you're supposed to do to generate business.
And you know that. I know. We all know that, right, Dave?
100%.
We all know that. I got sales calls open for next week. I'm running a teams training program, which I haven't done. I think I invited you to the one I did 3 years ago, where, we were training all these teams and they're like, 1 hour here, 1 hour there. And I'm like, you really got to have the whole package or I'm messing you up. And so we did the whole package. We did it together live. We would train live over Zoom, and I haven't done it for 3 years. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do this again. It's a 2-month piece. Let's go do it. Let's go help some 20 to 30 team leaders. Well, I have all these sales times in my calendar for next 2 weeks. You know, the best way to fill it, not an Instagram post, not a this, not an email, me reaching out and saying, Dave, I like you. Would you want any help?
100%.
And figuring out what is the offer that I want to give them, and then just go grind and make calls and call the people that you know, and then have some new people that you obviously don't. But we think, okay, let's send an email out to 110,000 people. That's what goes through my head. All the people I don't know, let's send an email out to them, and then let's put some posts out there. And it's like, do I want to work with the people I don't know though?
Yeah, no, exactly right. And, and you said, hey, let's grind out some phone calls. You're a grinder by nature, so you like to grind. I'm not a grinder by nature. So when you say grind out some phone calls, I don't know, but I like to have conversations with people. And if I can just reframe it that way, now I'm like, hey, I'm going to have 10 conversations with people today. And if what I do comes up, then we'll talk about it. And then I'll ask, hey, is this something you're interested in? Or do you know somebody who might be interested in it?
Yeah, that's really good, Dave. The word reframe, help our listeners understand, like, what is a technique and a tactic? One, so for us to be aware when we say these things, but like, how do we become aware and then work on the reframe? Because that's huge.
Awareness is the first key, right? So it's awareness before management, and then management before mastery. We all want to be masters, but before we're a master, we got to be able to manage what we're doing. Before we can do that, we have to become aware. So the first thing is just to catch yourself. And this is I would imagine most of the people in the audience right now are in the public service business, or the service-based business in some way, shape, or form. So sales calls is going to be a part of what you have to do, right? For a lot of people, they're resistant to it because they feel like they're sticking their hand in somebody's pocket. But like, when I'm coaching a business owner, we're talking about, hey, we need to connect with people or make some phone calls. I don't like to make phone calls. And like, that's just not true. Well, what do you mean? Do you ever call your folks? Do you have a best friend that you pick up the phone and have a conversation with? Yes. So it's not that you don't like phone calls. You don't like what you framed as a sales phone call, right? And so let's reframe. So the awareness piece is, I don't like making a sales call. And then, great, what don't you like about it? Well, I feel like I'm pressuring people. It doesn't feel genuine. All right. So if you were to have a conversation with somebody that felt genuine, where you wouldn't be pressuring people, what would that feel like to you? Well, I'd be connecting with people. Awesome. That's what we're doing today. We're connecting with 10 people. We're just having a conversation. If business comes up, we'll talk about
That's really good. I use a little different technique. I use more of a hammer.
it. You're a
Uh,
grinder. See, you like to work hard. I like things easy, Austin. That's the way to.
I'll use an analogy or I'll tell them, I say, okay, do you have a doctor? And so the way if I can get their brain to say, oh, I didn't think about it that way. And it almost makes them feel dumb because it's so simple.
Mm.
This might sound bad to say out loud, but it's like, of
Right.
course. And then I can break through that. So I always say, do you have a doctor? Yeah. Okay. Well, when's the last time your doctor called you? Not the secretary, when's the last time the doctor called you? And they're like, they never do. Would it be valuable if they did? And they're like, well, yeah, I think so. Let me ask you this. If your doctor called you once a quarter and checked in on you, would you pay them more? Instead of $267 for an appointment, would you pay them $268? And they're always like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, so it's more valuable if your doctor calls you and checks in on you.
100%.
And then the last thing I'll say is, if your doctor called you and checked in and say, hey, Austin, I know you got some foot issues. Do you know anybody else that has foot issues? And you're like, yeah, my mother does. She's been bitching to me for 4 years about her feet. You can help her? Sure, I can. And then I'm like, well, does that feel like taking or giving? And just reframing it like that, Dave, just really
Totally.
opens up people's mind. They still don't make the calls right away, but at least they're like, okay, I could see how me reaching out, offering services could help people.
100%.
And so that's a mountain I have to climb over every day as a coach.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, the beauty of it is too, is it like, I think we all make too much out of it. Like, got to call so many people because I've got to fill my roster or whatever the case may be. But we don't need 1 million clients, right? A handful of extra clients here and there is going to make every business owner feel more successful.
Yeah.
And so in just having conversations, just reaching out and contacting people, you're going to fill your roster almost by default, because you don't need 40 people this week.
Yeah. It's funny. Talking about rosters, I studied the Dunbar's number. Do you know what Dunbar's number is?
No.
Have you heard of Dunbar's number?
Like it's familiar to me, but I think I'm confusing it with Dunning-Kruger, which is something I'm sure is completely different.
What's
Dunning-Kruger is, I think, and I'm going to butcher it, but I think it's overestimating your ability to do. And we all think we're better at something than we are. Like we all think we're good drivers, but not all of us can be good drivers, right? So.
Okay, I like that. I'll have to study that one. I studied Dunbar's number, and Dunbar's number, it's a number that says this is how many real relationships you can manage and have. Because we all think, especially the eyes on the disc profile, I know 800 people. Like, you haven't called 6 of them this month yet, though. So Dunbar's number was 150. So Dunbar said you can have 150 true, meaningful relationships. You can have 500 acquaintances.
Yep.
But meaningful relationships, 150. And I heard this week somebody said 75. Now, I don't know where they got their numbers from, but they were talking about you can only really have 75. And I started to wonder, without studying, is this a legitimate thing this person's saying? Has that number gone down for some reason of how our world? I'm sure Dunbar's number is probably 1950 to 1990, somewhere,
Sure.
80. And has this new world that we're living in today affected the amount of relationships? So when I say relationships, people, I'm talking about you can care for them, you can nurture them, you're proactively ahead of them. Yeah. And it's not like, hey, I haven't heard from you for a year, Austin.
Right. And the beauty, whether it's 75, whether it's 150, there's magic in it being small, because the key is not those 150 people. The key is the 150 people that they all know, right? Like to make the math easy, if it were 100, your 100 people all know 100 people, which means you're 1 degree of separation away from 10,000 people. That 10,000 people that have a relationship with the people you're talking to. So it's not just general, it's specific.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you, when we were getting into my business, did I tell you the business that I do up in Detroit?
No.
mention anything? Or okay,
Do,
so
do you make cars?
six.
No.
I it was probably 5 years ago, and I never been to Detroit before this. 5 years ago, I met a guy. Got in relationship with him. His name's Kurt Shewell. And I taught Kurt, here's how I build, here's what I do. And I stayed close with Kurt. I'm still very close with Kurt. And last year I was up in Detroit. I was filling up my Tesla with electric, and I'm like, hey, I'm up in Detroit today, Kurt. And he's like, hey, did you tell anybody? I go, no. I go, I got like 200 customers in Detroit now, clients, customers, like all the above. And he goes, you got 200 now? I go, I do. And I said, you know what's funny is it all started with you. One.
Mm-hmm.
It started with one, and then he referred me to somebody, and then they referred me. And next thing you know, 5 years later, there's probably 200 to 300 people that I serve in Detroit in all different capacities. And he said this to me, I'll never forget. And Kurt's a smart guy, business guy, relationship guy. And he said, you always told me what you did, but I guess I never realized it
Oh, wow.
because you were doing it right in front of me.
100%. Yep. Wow.
And he said that. I'm like, that's pretty stinking cool. Like, I got to remember that.
Which is also brilliant, right? Because what you're doing is just connecting with somebody. If somebody doesn't realize it, then it's just a great connection, and that great connection is leading to a lot of business, right? And I think that's the key. If somebody can notice it, you're probably forcing it. But if you're just being you and connecting with people, it's going to seem natural, and it's going to lead to business.
And that's what we got to do. We just got to figure out what works for us. And so let's go back to the winning twice formula here. Winning twice is winning in business. This is what we've been talking about. Okay, how do I increase my business? There's a lot of things to win in business, but increase it, be profitable, don't let it kill me along the way. Let's switch this here and let's talk about how entrepreneurs win at life. What have you found? What are some key pieces?
There's a couple things, and I'd love to go back to the first quote, and I don't remember your mentor's name, but that why would you sacrifice your life to build your business? And
Dr. Joe Courier.
Yeah, and I think you can flip it the other way too, because I think that the people think it's either or. So you can sacrifice your business to have a good life. And I don't think it is either or. I honestly believe that you can have both. That's what I love the winning twice philosophy. Yeah. But the key is that you have to start, I think, I'm going to make a blanket statement, and it's not true for everybody, but you have to start with your life. If you focus on building the business and fitting your life in, you're never going to fit your life in. So you have to you've got to determine what's the life you want to be living. This goes back to big goals and unrealistic timelines. I think a lot of people have been beat over the head with goals that we get so goal focused that we forget the purpose of our goals. Right? We should create a vision, and it should be a compelling vision. And then we should have targets along the way that are our goals to move us towards that vision. But if we are continually looking at the goal and missing the day-to-day, we're missing the reason we're striving for these goals so we can enjoy our life. So we should be enjoying our life on the day-to-day on the way to the goals. And so to do that, you got to make sure your life is in first.
Yeah, there's a word, and I don't want to get sidetracked here, but there's a word, the word joy. Joy can only be found in the moment. It's not later, it's not yesterday. Joy isn't actually like in the moment word. And you can have all these things, but if you're not joyful, which is a great word, who doesn't want to be joyful, right? That's the in the moment. And it's funny, you talked about life. You need to get your life right before your business. I deal with a lot of real estate agents. I've never seen a real estate agent have their best year ever when they go through a divorce.
Right.
Haven't seen it yet. Like, they are holding on, hoping they don't crash and burn during this time. And so it's like, okay, well, which one's more important? Let's start with that. Life's more important than business. Business is a part of life, but life's more important. So it reminds me, a lot of what I've done, Dave, I've had to go back because my strengths, I think, are just normal things.
Right.
the world's like, how did you do it? I'm like, I don't know. You just did it and blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, a decade later, but I remember when I had my son, my second child, we qualified for welfare. And in that moment, I'm like, I'm going to get us out of this. And this was 13 years ago. So it wasn't that long
Sure.
ago. And I remember the first thing I did, everybody, the very first thing I did was I said, I'm not going to schedule appointments Friday after 5 o'clock. So 5 o'clock, I'm sorry, 5 o'clock, I'm going to be home for dinner every night. Number one thing. Number two thing, no appointments Fridays after 5. So after dinner on Friday, I'm not going out. And then no appointments on Sundays. It's the first thing I did. And my boss at the time said that can't work. My manager said that can't work. And I thought, I can do whatever I want. I'm in real estate,
Yeah.
right? And so I actually took something good when everybody said it couldn't work. And what they didn't say to me and what they didn't think about is I didn't have any business. So it wasn't like it mattered. Like, I'm not telling anybody no.
Well, but that's the best time to start that, because now you've got the guardrails of where you can fit your business in.
Yes.
If you tried to do that after you had a bunch of business, it'd be way harder.
It'd be tougher. And I'll say this for everybody, because when I hear you say that, they agreed with you. The hardest thing though is mentally. It'd be the hardest mentally. Yeah. Physically, it's easy. Just stop doing the shit.
Yeah.
It's mentally to say, now I got to let them down. Do I need the money? What are they going to think of me? Is my business it's all up here, everybody. Yeah. And once you make it up here, it's lights out. It's not going to be perfect.
And I think that, so this fits this conversation, because there's the extreme, do it or don't do it. And hey, I'm not doing it now. And so I know I need to do it. And so I'm going to stop, and I'm just going to say, today I'm not working on Friday afternoons. And then of course, what's going to happen? You're going to get the biggest deal of your life shows up on Friday afternoon, and you're like, okay, I'll work. So it's not about stop. It's about do less of, and it's not about start. It's about do more of, right? If we're wherever we are right now, if you're working 7 days a week, let's do less of that. And if you want to get to the gym 3 days a week, let's do more of that. And then we can expand and expand and expand until you get to the perfect schedule. And it's never going to be perfect. I would imagine in your tenure, there were days when every once in a while the rule got violated, but you got to make the decision about violating the rule. Yes. It wasn't just a normal course.
Well, it's funny. You talk about, and I speak a lot on rules and exceptions. What we do as entrepreneurs, we make a rule and we make an exception. And the rule is 80 to 90%. The exception's 10 to 20, let's say, or whatever percent. What we do as entrepreneurs is we do this.
Totally.
And everything's an exception. Well, honey, it's just the one time. Well, 4 days this week it is.
Yep. Yeah.
And I tell people, are like, you've never scheduled an appointment on Sunday. I go, no, I have. They go, but you said you don't schedule appointments on Sundays. I go, I don't. That's my rule. But when I go to Disney with my family Saturday to Saturday, you bet your ass on Sunday I'm working. They want me to work. They're like, could you leave us? And I'm like, I'm leaving this day.
Yeah.
And so, but that's the exception.
Exactly.
And one of the beautiful things, Dave, when I created these rules, I'm going to be home every night at 5 o'clock. Now, yes, sometimes I'm home at 5:05, 5:07, 5:12, and it's a problem, but okay. What happened is when I put a lid on my day, all the stuff fit in that lid. And when you don't put a lid, it fits in wherever you allow it to.
We're throwing out rules. That's Parkinson's law. Work expands to the time allowed, right? So constrain the time allowed. Yeah.
But I got so much stuff, I'm not going to be able to get it done. And it's like, no, you'll
get it done. You know, it's interesting. Your story of, hey, I'm going to set it up this way. I was working with a woman. This was probably 10 or 15 years ago. And she actually said, hey, you're my last hope, because my broker is telling me I can't do what I want to do. And I said, well, what is it you want to do? She goes, my fiance lives in Europe 6 months out of the year, and I want to spend time with him when he's there, but I still want to have my business here. And she goes, do you think I can do it? And I said, well, do you think you can do it? She goes, I think I can. And I'm like, great, let's do it. Like, let's just build the business so that What has to happen for this to work? Instead of going, well, it never work. Well, what has to happen to work? Well, when I'm in Europe, somebody I have to have a team in place to be able to handle the business. And the team may be one person, maybe two people, maybe three. Great. So we need someone to handle your business. And then what about lead generation and marketing? Well, when I'm in the US, that's when I'll be face to face with a bunch of people. Great. Let's just build that plan. It took off, and then she started her own brokerage, so it's there's every reason you can't. Well, there's no way I can't work evenings and weekends because that's when people want to see homes. That has never flown with me, because the cable company will give you a 4-hour window when you have to be home to set cable up, and everybody takes time off of work to go meet the cable guy. If they can meet the cable guy, they'll meet you to help them buy the house or sell the house when they want to sell it.
I had to do that this week. I was the one that had to sit at home for the window was 8 to noon. They came at 7:30 in the morning.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm like, well, now's not a great time, but I guess if you're here, and so it's funny, like when you say simple things like that, we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And when I talk about the doctor calling, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I think it's all about expectations. Ben Franklin once said, if you want people to believe you, tell them. Meaning that if you just tell people things, they'll take it. And so just set expectations. Hey, this is when I work, and this is why, and here's what's going to happen if you need me outside of this time, right? So if we're clear on expectations, then we'll be fine.
Yeah, one of the best things I did with expectations is I took my voicemail and just said, hey, it's Austin. If it's after 5, I'll call you back the next business day. And everyone's like, oh, what happened when you did that? I go, they stopped calling me after 5. Okay. And then I'm like, well, shit, this works, Dave. So you know what I did? I said, hey, this is Austin. If it's after 5 or on Sunday, I'll call you back the next business day. What'd they say? They didn't say anything.
They stopped calling on Sunday.
And then I'm like, well, if that works, then I said, yeah, hey, it's after 5, or if it's after 5 or on the weekends.
Yep.
And then I took a little more ground. And then next thing you know, my voicemail went to, hey, if it's after 4 or on the weekends, I'll probably call you back within a couple of days.
I love it.
And it was all up here. And I think that's what most of us are dealing with. It's the game up here of saying, will this work? Could it work? Why would I want it to work? And then being willing to fail just a little. Like, you got to be willing to take that
and
chance.
Test and measure, right? Like, I think I love the phrasing it had is, will this work? And then the next question you asked was, can I make it work? And those are they're two different questions. Will this work? Has anybody ever done it before? Probably yes, but if no, can I make it work? And if you're like, I think I can, great. Then let's test and measure, and let's not be afraid to tweak it along the way. And if it doesn't turn out exactly the way you'd envision, it's still better than before you tried.
That's exactly right. Well, talking about tweaking, when I saw you started up your own consulting company here, coaching consulting, I reached out to you.
You were one of my first
Do you remember
clients.
that conversation?
Yeah.
Do you remember that conversation?
I do. Yeah.
Well, tell them, well, there's nothing to hold back either. Tell them.
Well, here's
tell them
you and I
about
have had a lot of conversation, and it's funny that you said that 13 years ago you qualified for welfare, because I could swear you and I have known each other for 15 years, and I haven't known you when you were there. Like, as long as I,
you knew me when I was on welfare.
I did.
I'm pretty sure.
Well,
yeah, you probably.
I never
me,
knew
yeah.
that, because you're one of the most driven, most successful people I know, and part of it is, because of what you just said, you're not afraid to question the way things are. The other part of it is you have a very big picture vision, but large. You're very future focused, and what do you want to build in the future? Which I really appreciate with you, because it's hard for people with that future focus to be present, and you're also one of the most present people I know. But what I remember about our conversation is, I've got this great business. I've got big ideas for it, but I don't want it to consume my time. I don't want it to consume my money. I don't want it to consume my energy. And it was almost like, you didn't say this and you didn't mean it, but it was almost like, I don't want to do anything but I know it. I know I have the ability to impact more people. And it wasn't that you didn't want it to do anything. It was that you didn't want it to consume you. And I think you knew that if
Yes.
you went down the path, there's a potential that you'd lock on and it would consume you.
If I did what everybody else
Yeah,
does and I do what everybody tells me I should do, that's not the life I want to live.
exactly. Yeah.
And so when I saw you, it was probably one of your posts on Instagram.
Right. It works. I got one.
And now we'll hopefully spread this message to thousands and thousands of people here. So from one Instagram post, you still need to make connections, people. It wasn't
Yep.
the post that got it. It was the years of the
100%.
relationship, just to make sure no one wants to cheat the system
Yeah,
here.
and to that end, like, I think you should have a public visibility, right? Like, I think you need to be on some of those things so people can see it. You just can't consume it. But anyway, so continue.
So I saw
Yeah.
the post and I go, oh, Dave's doing his thing now. I go, Dave's a smart guy. Dave might know some stuff that I need to know. I'm going through a transition. I had bought my cousin out of Cheviron coaching. I had shut down all these companies. And I felt like I was at this point where I knew where I wanted to go, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. And I'm like, I need a smart guy. I need somebody who I can just tell all my shit to. And he can tell me his thoughts, right, left, up, down, wrong, right, whatever his thoughts are. And so I reached out to you and I said, hey, could I hire you? And you go, you want to coach? I go, no, I don't necessarily want to coach. I just need somebody I could tell all my stuff to. And I think you're the perfect guy. And you go, well, how will we know if this is successful? And I'm like, if you listen, you listen and then tell me your thoughts, it'll be successful. And so we went down that journey. And I want to share this with everybody because most people would think like, I wouldn't call you for some reason. Like, why would Austin call Dave or Dave? Like how, like the mental, the ego, and it's like, I know where I'm going. I need help. Sometimes I need a lot of help, Dave. And sometimes I need a check-in.
Yep.
I need the rumble strips to make sure I don't go too far over. And we invested 90 days together. And what that caused me to do was to get all of my products and services out in one place so I could show you.
Yep.
And you didn't even ask me to do it. I just, because our relationship and because I needed to show you, it's like I had to get organized.
You know, it's
And-
interesting
yeah.
because the stage of where my business is and where I am now is the people I work with are already successful. And it's funny because you say, hey, Dave, I want your insight. And like, I'm just going to bite my tongue because you didn't need, like, I'm sure maybe I dropped a little insight here and there, but you didn't really need it. And most people who are successful don't need it. They need space and they need time to think. And so I really feel if I'm doing a great job, I'm asking questions that help you clarify it. So I didn't ask you to map out your offering, but in our conversation, you're like, I got to get clear on the offering. So you mapped it out, right? Yeah.
You helped me establish the gap. Yep. And then I knew that if I could show you everything, you could ask me some questions that would help me think. And then also I believe because of trust that if I was doing something completely dumb, or if there was a missing piece of the puzzle, it's like you got this piece and this piece, like, hey, there's a missing piece here, Austin. You would be able to tell me. And I just knew that was worth the investment of time and money that people have to put out there. Like I am willing to invest in myself. And I always remember you're like, how are you know you're going to get your money's worth, Austin? I'm like, if we make it to the end and you listen to me and tell me whatever you tell me, I'm good. There's no expectation. And as a coach, I feel that.
And I think it's important. Like, and I think for me, when I'm coaching somebody, I want to know, hey, what's our outcome? Because real coaching can be very ethereal, right? If you don't,
what's that word mean?
Like it can move from right to left, and you may not. It may be a good conversation, but you may not get an outcome. And in fact, a lot. It's. I think the coaching industry is an interesting industry in that it's completely unregulated. Everybody can call themselves a coach. And most of the people who are coaching right now who call themselves a coach aren't really coaches. They're teachers or trainers, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a different methodology between teaching, training, and coaching. And then you have, so teaching is a transfer of information, training is a transfer of skill, mentorship is a transfer of experience, and coaching is the drawing out of potential. And so it's a very inquisitive type of relationship. And then you have pure coaches. I'm a member of the International Coaching Federation, but if you look at the International Coaching Federation, they're like, you can't be directive at all. Like, you don't direct anybody anywhere. It's not about the outcome. It's about the experience the client has. Well, that may help in certain areas, but in a business standpoint, it often doesn't. So I always try to say, I want a defined outcome so that we can be very inquisitive in here, but we know we're moving in the right direction,
Yeah.
So
It's funny when I learned the difference between the mentoring, the training, the consulting, the coaching. I'm like, I'm more of a consultant is what I do.
yeah, interesting. And
And
consulting is
yeah,
like a
I
hybrid
live
between coaching and mentorship. The people will come to you
y-
for your experience, and then also you're able to draw out what they want so that you're not just putting them in your box.
yeah, and it's a lot of times it's like, hey, we got to get this result. I'm like, let's get to work. You're screwing up here, you're screwing up here. Let's do this, put this peg
Yeah.
here. How do you feel when you put that peg there? Oh, I don't like that. That doesn't make me it's so the question is the coaching.
Exactly
So
right.
the
Yeah.
consulting is take the peg and put it there. You're putting it in the wrong place.
Yeah.
It's causing the whole machine. How do you feel? Well, I was the one that designed it like this. Me and my ex were the ones that did this, and this is making me feel weird. And
Totally.
and so
Yeah.
it's fun to get into that and to figure out, like, my lane is it's a mixture. It's a hybrid of consulting and coaching. I do training. But when I'm with someone one-on-one, it's that mixture because I think I like to get shit done too. Like,
Which is important.
I don't want to wait for you for a month to figure out it. We need to go right. Well, I'm telling you, we need to go right. And
Right.
we're just sitting there and you just paid me thousands of dollars and you're like, I don't know which way to go.
Well, and it's interesting. And that's why I'd like to know what is the outcome of our engagement, because during our engagement, I'm going to lean way more to the coaching side. And even if I'm like, boy, if we just did this, it would speed it up. And the reason for me is I think I think people come to you for a little more specific direction. People come to me because they know they're missing something and they're trying to figure out what they're missing. And if I tell them to do something and it's not in alignment with the way they want to do it, they'll do it for a little while and then they won't do it.
Yeah.
But if they come up with the idea of what they want to do, then they're bought in. And I may look at it and go, I'm not sure. Let's try it and see what happens. And it could be way better than I would have ever come up with, or it might fall flat, but we're going to get to where we need to go as long as we know where that outcome is,
For all my team leaders listening, there's a huge piece of advice right there. You want to get your team members to buy in based off of what they want, not what you tell them.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was talking to a team leader today. And I think, there's a blend between, but I need my team to do this so that we can get here, and giving the team ownership. Right. And so part of it is asking the team members what their goals are. And if their goals are higher than what you need them to do, great. What are you going to do to get there? And then they give you the plan. And as long as it sounds reasonable, you hold them accountable to that plan. If they say, here's my goal, but you need them to be up here, then you say, that's good, but here's my goal for you. And how are you going to get there? Right. And so they have to know the direction. I really think a great leader plants a flag and sets direction, and then allows the team to determine the how to get there, and within boundaries, obviously. And if you do that, then everybody feels like they have buy-in. And the key to the team leader is to make sure they're moving in the right direction.
Well, I think we just gave some decades of wisdom there, Dave, to some team leaders. Now, you got decades of wisdom in a couple sentences, but no, to pull that off can take it's hard to pull that off. But if you can get the concept in your mind, and start to go fail forward towards it, you know that you're closer to the flag, let's say.
Yeah.
And that's the key at the end of
And
the day.
I think it's, you know, you said fail forward. And I think it's that more of this, less of this. You're never going to be perfect. And then you're going to learn, oh, I should have done that differently. Great. This is how you get there. And I don't think I've never met anybody who's led an organization that actually feels like they know what they're doing, right? Like it's when you're leading, it feels like, oh my God, what the heck am I doing? So
I feel like I get dumber every day. I literally get,
which is why you're a good leader.
I'm supposed to be the smart guy. I'm supposed to be the smart
Right.
one. And I'm like, I know less and less.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I just don't know, but I'm figuring out.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, I appreciate your time here today. I think our conversation is exactly what the Winning Twice formula looks like.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on, sharing your decades of wisdom. If anybody would like to get a hold of you, Dave, what's the best way to reach out to you?
I'm on most of the socials. You know, I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm not on TikTok. Most of the socials at Coach Dave McGhee, and McGhee is McGhee. And then you can also reach out to me on my website, CoachDaveMcGhee.com.
Love it. Dave, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you, my friend. I'll be in touch
Awesome.
with you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of Winning Twice. Each week, we drop a new episode with business owners, entrepreneurs, and high performers. We talk about life, vision, success, failure, and what it really takes to win professionally and personally. If you want to listen to more episodes, visit my website, austinchevron.com. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode of Winning Twice.